Honorable trustees and directors, fellow faculty members, distinguished guests, family of the graduates, friends and colleagues, welcome to today's commencement ceremony for Van Andel Institute Graduate School. Thank you for joining us this afternoon to help us celebrate the accomplishments of our students and to witness the formal conferring of the degree of Doctor of Philosophy for those who are graduating from our program in the year 2020. I extend a particularly warm welcome to the family and friends of today's graduates, Lindsay Cunningham, Guillermo Flores, Nicole Vanderscaff, Minga Du, and Jamie Gritt. You have supported and encouraged your loved ones through the long years of their doctoral training. This ceremony marks an important, notable milestone for you as well. And so I'm especially glad that you can tune in today to mark this important moment and to celebrate the accomplishments of the person for whom you care so much. This is, of course, not the way we would prefer to celebrate. We would much rather have been in person in the Tomatis Auditorium at Van Andel Institute with all of the family and friends gathered around as witnesses. We miss the ceremonial significance of the processional with the faculty and graduating students decked out in their academic regalia and with live music swelling our hearts and moving our steps. We would love to spend time together afterwards in a reception so that we can offer personal congratulations to each new graduate and to get photographs of students with mentors and with family and with each other. But as our city and state and nation and world continue to battle the COVID pandemic, it's still important for us to mark significant accomplishments like the completion of a PhD, even if we have to use a pre-recorded ceremony like this as the means to mark that celebration. The pandemic has been tremendously disruptive to the work of the Institute and to the studies of our graduate students, as it has to so many other segments of society. I am proud of the ways in which our students and faculty and staff have responded in the face of this unprecedented challenge. You've found ways to persevere in advancing science, even when you couldn't come into the lab for several months. You've pushed forward the papers describing your research discoveries, and you've pushed out grants to secure the funding necessary to continue our science. You've found new ways to stay connected to each other using tools that were quite unfamiliar to us a year ago. You've supported each other's well-being, even when we've not been able to get together in person very often, if at all. The pandemic was not the only disruption that hit us all hard this year. Our plans for a graduation ceremony for Lindsay Cunningham much earlier this year were canceled in light of the shocking and tragic death of her life partner, Kevin Coulter, in an automobile accident. We will acknowledge Lindsay's graduation today, even while we respect her decision not to participate directly, given that celebration still seems so hard to contemplate in light of that loss. Our community was hit hard a second time in August, losing a rising star among our faculty when Vivian Labrie lost her life in a horrific accident. That loss still feels very fresh, and it's hard to summon up a mindset of celebration with that weight still heavy on our hearts. In the face of those challenges, we'll carry on as best we can in a way that will mark an important transition in the lives of our graduates and an important milestone for the school and for the Institute as tangible evidence of our collective success in fulfilling our mission to develop biomedical research leaders. Our graduating students will very appropriately be the primary focus of our attention today. In a few moments, each of them will be introduced by their thesis advisor. After we formally confer the degrees, we will witness the hooding of our graduates as a mark of their transition to their new professional status in the Academy. We will hear from our graduates as well as they reflect on their growth and experiences of the past years. And one of our continuing students will offer congratulations on behalf of the student body. Before we do that, however, I would like to acknowledge the vital work of people without which these student accomplishments would simply not be possible. First, I want to acknowledge the Van Andel Institute faculty, who direct the research activities of the Institute and who provide the intellectual power that makes the graduate school run. For our students, the faculty have been teachers and mentors, advisors and consultants, encouragers and critics. By their examples in the classroom, the laboratory, at national conferences, and in private discussions, our faculty lead our graduate students as apprentice scientists to learn what it means to be a biomedical research leader. I'm grateful for their creativity and perseverance, for their innovation, and for their commitment to providing the environment in which our students grow to become capable and productive scientists. I also acknowledge the dedication and commitment of the graduate school staff, some of whom have been with us for many years, and others who are near the end of their first year at Van Andel Institute. Their expert support of the faculty and of the students is essential for effectively implementing the curriculum and programs of our school. In addition, I extend our collective thanks to the many staff members from the administrative and operations units of this institute who create an unparalleled environment for our research and our graduate school. You too play important roles in the success of our school and of our students. I hope that you also take pride in what our students have achieved. Finally, I'm grateful to those who guide the Institute from behind the scenes, as it were, the members of the Graduate School's Board of Directors, and also the trustees of Van Andel Institute and its research and education arms. In particular, I am grateful for the enduring support and commitment shown by the chairman of the boards of trustees and the chief executive officer of the Institute, David Van Andel. His leadership for nearly 25 years and the exceptionally generous support of the endowment established by his parents and family established the foundation for the growth and success of the Institute, including the graduate school, in ways that many other institutions can only dream of. Thank you, David. And now it's time for us to meet our graduating students. Each of them will be introduced by their thesis advisor. We'll begin with Dr. Darren Moore, thesis advisor for Lindsay Cunningham.
It's my pleasure to introduce Lindsay Cunningham. Lindsay originates from Colorado and studied at the Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, where she received her undergrad. Lindsay first came to the Institute in the fall of 2014, and she subsequently joined our lab in March 2015. This is 1 year after my lab moved here from Europe. And so, as always, she took a fairly large risk in coming to a sort of a newly established lab. Lindsay spent the past 5 years single-mindedly obsessed with understanding the functional relationship between two proteins that are known to cause Parkinson's disease, the LOCK2 and the VPS35 protein. Lindsay's devoted a huge portion of her time to developing new animal models of Parkinson's. Not only that, but then aging those models for up to 2 years, which in a mouse is considered to be relatively old age or an end of life. So this is a huge undertaking for a PhD student to not only develop these models, but also to study them through time, their behavior and their pathology. So Lindsay has contributed an important body of work to her research field in defining the functional interaction between these proteins and the common pathway in which they lie up in. And she's become, along the way, an expert in many techniques or many disciplines, cell biology, confocal microscopy. She's now an expert in behavioral assays, and as well as neuropathological analysis of rodent models. And this has really been great to watch her develop this key expertise over time and perfect these methods. So Lindsay's shown a tremendous amount of persistence during her studies. She never gave up, even when the results were against her, which in many cases they were in the very beginning of her PhD. But she nevertheless stuck in there, and it's really been a joy to watch her improve over time and develop into a remarkably confident and talented expert who has always been a key team player and an excellent member of the lab. And these are great skills I think that will serve her in her professional life. Unfortunately, Lindsay couldn't be with us today after losing her life partner, Kevin, earlier this year in a tragic accident, shortly, in fact, after she graduated or defended her PhD. So we send our best wishes and hope and our continued best wishes as she begins to rebuild her life and for her future career endeavors. And we are certain that whatever she chooses to do next, she will be extremely successful at. So on behalf of myself and all the members of my lab, I would sincerely like to congratulate Dr. Cunningham and say simply how pleased and proud we are of her wonderful achievements. Thank you.
Next, I invite Dr. Patrick Grohar to introduce Guillermo Flores.
Honor and privilege to introduce to you Guillermo Flores, as he's awarded the Doctor of Philosophy degree from Van Andel Institute. As many of you know, Guillermo is part of the combined MD-PhD program with Michigan State University, which means he's now successfully defended his thesis and will be conferred the degree Doctor of Philosophy today from the Van Andel Institute. He's also returned to the clinic and is finishing up his requirements for the MD degree, which will ultimately be awarded from Michigan State University. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Patrick Grohar. I was Guillermo's thesis advisor, first at the Van Andel Institute, and then when we moved the lab to Philadelphia, to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania. It is an honor for me to be part of the ceremony, even if from just a distance. So let me just say two things. First, to you, Guillermo, congratulations. It's quite an achievement to complete this degree. It's a different type of challenge than most people get to experience, and it's quite an accomplishment to complete it. As your advisor, I'd like to leave you with one last piece of advice, and that is, whether you're doing clinical work or ultimately decide to do research in the future, always remember the patients whom we have the privilege and the honor to serve. For the group, I'd like to leave you with one last impression of Guillermo. Ultimately, Guillermo came through in the clutch. As we were finishing up, as he was finishing up his thesis, he was trying to complete this assay called global run-on sequencing that he'd been working on for several years, and he was almost having it, and then COVID hit. Lab shut down. Guillermo was running out of time. He had to write his thesis, defend his thesis, and he really wanted to get this experiment done. The lab opens back up. We've got about 6 weeks left. I'm like, Guillermo, there's no way you're going to get this done. Just let's move on. We'll figure out how to get this done in the future. And he said, no, he really wanted to do it. So he worked at it, and he literally put the last tube into the freezer as he got in the car and drove to Michigan. Like he was literally leaving to move back home as he finished the experiment. And we just found out this week that it worked. He had 17 of 18 samples with good reads. It's really going to be an influential thing for the lab and for our understanding of how this compound is working. So I think it's a testimony to Guillermo, and I guess if you come through in the clutch like that, probably not a bad idea to be a doctor, and there's plenty of fields where that will be very useful to you. So again, congratulations to you, Guillermo. Congratulations to your classmates, many of whom I've had it's been wonderful to get to know, and I'm sorry I can't be there in person. Congratulations.
I now welcome Dr. Peter Laird, who will introduce Nicole van der Schaaf.
Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Peter Laird, and it's my real pleasure and honor to introduce Nicole van der Schaaf. Nicole grew up just south of Grand Rapids in Three Rivers. She attended Glen Oaks Community College and then graduated summa cum laude from Indiana Wesleyan. While she was at Indiana Wesleyan, she researched cold-adapted bacteria from Antarctica, and this led to her first research publication. She finished up early there and then served as adjunct faculty for a full semester while she waited for Van Andel graduate program to start. I was very fortunate to have her join my lab after she started Van Andel Institute Graduate School in 2014. And in addition to being a wonderful student, she really played a very important role in helping me set up the lab, recruit new people, and get the lab organized. She was always enthusiastic and fearless in her experiments. For example, she was the first person at Van Andel to establish intestinal organoid cultures and was very helpful in teaching others throughout the Institute how to do that. She successfully tackled interesting questions regarding the role of DNA methylation and methyltransferase in intestinal cancer and helped to advance our understanding of the role of epigenetics in early and pre-malignant stages of disease. And this has potential implications for understanding disease risk, for example. Along the way, Nicole faced a lot of experimental headwinds, as you might expect from such a challenging project, and she always met those with an amazing degree of courage, patience, and persistence, and an overall very positive and admirable approach to science. Nicole's also an outstanding writer. She was the first graduate school at Van Andel Institute to be awarded an F-31 from the NIH, and she wrote this NIH grant entirely herself with just some very minor edits from my side. And also the first draft of her PhD thesis was, I think, the best research dissertation I've seen in my career, and that probably includes my own dissertation as well. Throughout her career, Nicole has demonstrated a real passion for teaching. She's one of the best communicators I've encountered. From even the early days in my lab, she showed a remarkable ability to convey complex ideas in a way that was comprehensible to others. I recognized her unique teaching abilities and her interest in education, and therefore I was very supportive in her obtaining additional teaching experience as adjunct faculty at Grand Valley State University while working on her thesis work in my laboratory. Nicole joined Olivet Nazarene University recently as faculty, where I'm sure her teaching talent will be rapidly recognized, and I have no doubt that she'll very rapidly become one of the most beloved teachers there. Finally, I'd just like to comment on Nicole's personality. Nicole is one of the most positive, caring, and supportive people I know. I cannot recall a single contentious event involving Nicole, and she always displayed the highest standards of integrity and compassion, and was really universally loved by other lab members. So thank you, Nicole, for helping me to launch my lab and for doing outstanding research and for bringing sunshine to the lab for the past 6 years. And I hope to be able to properly congratulate you in person sometime soon. So thank you.
Next in line is Dr. Huilin Li, here to introduce Mingge Du.
It is my great pleasure to introduce you Mingge Du. Mingge grew up in Shandong province in China, and she got her bachelor degree in biology in that province in Rudong University. And then she got a master degree in Jiangsu province in Dongnan Southeast University in China in genetics. Then she moved to Singapore, working as a research assistant in metabolic engineering. And she joined my lab in 2015 at Stony Brook University in the program of biochemistry and structural biology. Mingge moved with me to Van Andel Institute in 2016, and she also joined the Van Andel Institute graduate program. Mingge's research project has been on this E. coli surface pili assembly mechanism. And she has done amazing work, and her thesis work was awarded the Institute Graduate Publication Award last year. She successfully defended her PhD thesis in August. I think in addition to her amazing research work, what really impressed me most was during all this busy work, she was also raising a young family with her husband, 2 beautiful boys. And I'm really happy and to have her in the lab and she did a wonderful job. She is certainly on a very good track record to a successful research career. So congratulations, Ming-Er, and I wish you all the best.
Finally, I invite Dr. Matt Steensma to introduce Jamie Gritt.
Greetings from the front lines at Spectrum Health. It's my pleasure to introduce Jamie Gritt for the graduation ceremony, and I want to submit a warm welcome to Jamie's family and the esteemed faculty of the Van Andel Institute Graduate School. Jamie has been an absolute pleasure to have in our laboratory, and on behalf of Dr. Graville and I, who are her co-mentors, we offer you a hearty congratulations, Jamie. Jamie, you've overcome some significant challenges in graduate school with coronavirus interrupting the timing of your thesis work and being a new mother, and you have performed diligently and admirably, and that is to your credit. So bravo, well done. Jamie is someone who we all enjoy spending time with. Jamie has a wonderful heart for people, a wonderful heart for science, and a wonderful heart for science that helps people. And our hope is that she continues down the translational research career pathway. And I think it's important for all of you to know that Jamie has an extreme fondness for Mexican food. And shortly after joining our lab, we began having lab meetings at her request at Donkey Taqueria. Jamie has some niche expertise in the back of the menu where all the margarita options are listed. And she's taught a lot to all of us in that regard. So for that, we thank you. Jamie, as you go forward with confidence. You've done well, you've trained well, you're prepared for the next step. Congratulations, Dr. Jamie Gritt.
It is time now to formally confer the degree of Doctor of Philosophy to these graduating students. Joining me for this purpose is Dr. Juan Olivares, Chair of the Board of Directors of Van Andel Institute Graduate School. Dr. Olivares, I hereby attest that these students who have just been introduced have successfully completed all requirements for their doctoral degrees from Van Andel Institute Graduate School. On the recommendation of the faculty of Van Andel Institute Graduate School, I am proud to present these candidates for the conferral of their degrees.
By virtue of the authority bestowed by the state of Michigan to the Board of Directors of the Van Andel Institute Graduate School, and upon the recommendation of the faculty of this school, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy with all the rights and privileges that pertain to that degree. Congratulations.
In addition to a diploma, students completing graduate degrees receive an academic hood as an indication of their degree and discipline. The blue and white lining of the hood represents the colors of Van Andel Institute. The deep blue color of the velvet edging represents the Doctor of Philosophy degree. In our typical ceremony, Dr. Brian Hobb, Assistant Dean of the Graduate School, would assist the student's mentor in placing the hood on the graduating student. Because of the challenges and restrictions in getting people together, that was not possible in all cases this time. So we'll see the hooding done by mentors or colleagues or family members, as was feasible for particular students. It now gives me great pleasure to congratulate Dr. Guillermo Flores. Next, I offer our congratulations to Dr. Nicole Vanderskaff. Dr. Hoylin Lee and Dr. Brian Hobb will present the hood to Dr. Minga Du. Finally, we'll mark the hooding of Dr. Jamie Gritt. Our new graduates each will have an opportunity to reflect on their experiences at Van Andel Institute Graduate School. We'll begin with Dr. Guillermo Flores.
I've only got 3 minutes, so I won't bore you with my life story. Instead, I will share one thing I learned in grad school, and that is that grad school is hard. So you need to make sure you have a great support system. You need to know that people have got your back, because burnout is real, and in grad school you're going to feel it at times, but it's just so much easier when you have others you can rely on to get you through it. And I've been fortunate enough that throughout my life, I've had the support essentially every step along the way. I can think back to high school with Carl Van Fossen, my chemistry teacher, who really pointed me in the direction of research. And then when I got into my undergrad studies at Hope College, where I had 2 of the best mentors, and Christopher Barney and Leah Chase, that fostered my growth as a scientist in every way imaginable. And then at the Van Andel Institute, where I chose the best mentor I could hope for in Patrick Grohar, who was just and will always be a role model in how much he cared for the science, for building the best lab possible, and critical to me, the patience. And the lab really kind of became like a mini scientific family. And we would get together and hang out and sometimes do stupid things, like the time I convinced the lab to split a chocolate bar that was 10,000 times spicier than a jalapeno. Always a good fun. But yeah, very critical. It was so critical to have such a good lab environment. And I also have to give a special shout out to Maggie and Jenna that went out to Philadelphia with me when we moved out the CHOP. It was a difficult move for everyone, but it was made more bearable just to know that I had 2 other friendly faces there. And then I also got to just give a shout out to my wonderful girlfriend, Alice. I love you, and thanks for sticking through it with crazy things like this move to Philadelphia and back. Your support means so much. And then finally, I want to thank my family. They've always been so loving and so supportive. And especially as far as science goes, I want to thank my dad. He's always been probably my biggest scientific inspiration. I always thought he had the coolest job, and I was always so excited to hear what he had going on when he was a lab tech. And I will always remember how proud I was the day when I was in 5th grade and he came and gave a science show for the whole class. This is a man that came from very little in a tiny rural town in Mexico and just made something of himself, built himself up, and was always just so excited to do science. And I hope that, even in a little way, that I've made you proud, Dad.
Now, I welcome Dr. Nicole Vanderskaff to reflect on her doctoral experiences.
It feels like just yesterday that I found myself sitting in that grad school classroom with a thick stack of scientific papers next to me that felt like a foreign language. Yet, here I am, now with the title doctor in front of my name and this funny hat on my head. And now I'm the one who's teaching that foreign language to my undergraduate students. My interactions with these undergraduates in the past few months have truly opened my eyes to see how far I've come and grown, both as a person and as a scientist, during the years of graduate school. I say this to encourage those of you who are continuing students, who are in the middle of that growth. It may just feel like a struggle most days, but keep going and keep persevering, because one day you will realize how much you've grown, even if you don't see it now. I am so thankful for everyone at Van Andel who made this growth in me possible. You have been incredible colleagues as well as friends. I'm especially thankful for the Van Andel family and for the NIH who provided funding for my graduate work. For all of the graduate school students and staff, for Steve and Julie and Nancy, and for the many PIs who instructed our courses. Thank you to the core facilities and the housekeeping team and the dishwashing team and my thesis advisory committee for your faithful support of my work. I couldn't have done it without all of you. I am also incredibly grateful for my PI, Peter, and for the Laird and Shen labs that welcomed me into their lab family. I don't think I will ever forget my first meeting with Peter during my rotation. It was honestly painful. I'm pretty sure I couldn't answer a single one of Peter's questions. But I was determined to do better at the next meeting, and I knew that if I stuck with it, I would be a better scientist as a result. Peter, thank you for taking a chance on me, for your continual support and guidance, for your patience, and for always believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. To the members of the Laird and Shen labs, I have loved working alongside of you and have greatly enjoyed your friendships. I will always cherish the great memories from my time in the lab with you, from decorating the lab for Christmas, to massive dissection days, to dressing up like Super Mario for the Halloween costume contest. It has been a true pleasure to work with you. Finally, I want to thank those who have supported me personally throughout graduate school, my friends, family, and church. You have been huge encouragers for me along the way and helped keep me sane through the ups and downs of life and graduate school. I couldn't have done it without you as well, so thank you.
Next to speak will be Dr. Minga Du.
Like many graduate students across the nation, I am graduating this year, 2020, the pandemic year. And I didn't expect my student life ended like this. The pandemic also turned my life upside down through these passing months. It's super painful to go through all of this. However, we can't control the circumstances that we face today. We need to shrug it off and take all the challenges it created. Challenge is always a good thing for self-growth. It can motivate us, step out of our comfort zone, and arm ourselves with new ability to face the changing world. Therefore, we should never view challenge as a disadvantage. We need to open our arms wide to embrace them. It can be hard to imagine what life could look like as time progresses. The only certainty we have is that time goes on and the future will arrive. I want to use this opportunity to thank my PI, Huilin Li, for moving our lab from Long Island, New York to here, to this wonderful and unique institute and graduate school. I appreciate all the support I get from here. Without any of you, my graduation and life and study should not be this smooth. Most importantly, I thank for my PI and the graduate school to plant me in such a way that will allow me to grow toward who I am meant to be, a scientist.
The final graduate to speak today will be Dr. Jamie Gritt.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for watching what I hope is the last ever virtual commencement. So I want to start by thanking my family, especially my husband, Adam, for your steadiness and for helping me through the most difficult times of this journey. There were many times when I felt like I couldn't do it, and a few times I wanted to quit, and you were always there to remind me that I have grit and I can do anything. So thank you for that. And that will be my last grit joke. Thank you also to Maylin for giving so much perspective to my life and to my research, and for the joy you've brought all our lives. Thank you to my mother, Jody, for your continued love and support over the years, and to my wonderful stepdad, Randy, and to my amazing in-laws, Roger and Donna, for all your help and encouragement. Thank you to my siblings, and especially to Maddie and Jordan, for always asking me how my research is going. Thank you to many dear friends, to my oldest friend, Megan, for our many years of friendship and for encouraging me to go to college. To Nikki for your friendship and your relentless positivity. To Elizabeth and to Patrick for welcoming me into the lab and for your friendship and loyalty through good times and bad. Thank you, Manusha and Megan, for your friendship and many, many laughs. And to Allison, I miss you so much. Thank you for being the full meal. I also want to thank the Holstein's mom. I kind of doubt that any other lab in the world has bumper stickers, so I'd say what we have together is pretty special. Matt and Carrie, of course, Pridgen, Candace, Eve, Allison, Patrick, Elizabeth, Kurt, Megan, Manusha, Lauren, and Ray. Thank you all for your enthusiasm and positivity and for teaching me about science, life, and a ton of other things. I'm so thankful to have worked with each of you. You all have made this journey one of the best times in my life. Thank you to many mentors, to Elizabeth, Carrie, Nikki, and Alexis for being amazing scientists and amazing mothers at the same time. Thank you to Steve and also to my microbiology professor at community college, Dr. Link, for helping me realize my potential. Thank you to Nikki and to Mary to being amazing peer mentors and supporting me through so many challenges and milestones. I also want to thank Nancy for guiding me through the intensity of this journey and the personal transformations that have come with it. And of course, thank you, Matt and Carrie. I could not ask for better mentors. Thank you so much for your leadership and for your investment in me. Carrie, I remember the first time I saw you. It was at the retreat a long time ago when I was a super nervous intern, and you gave a talk that totally blew me away. I could have never imagined then that I'd be lucky enough to work with you. I am so honored and grateful to have you as a mentor. Matt, I'm also so thankful to you. Thank you for your perspective as a clinician and for teaching me about translational research. Your sense of mission and teamwork have changed the way I think about the world. Finally, I'd like to thank God for placing all the people I just mentioned in my life.
Our graduates have made their mark on their field of study by virtue of the research they have accomplished. They have also made a mark on our institute and our school, including on the collective student body. Maggie Chassie will now represent the continuing students in reflecting on what today's graduates have accomplished and what their presence has meant to the community of scholars at Van Andel Institute Graduate School.
Welcome, graduates, their families and friends, esteemed faculty, continuing students, and all of the Van Andel Institute staff. My name is Maggie Chassie, and I am a fifth-year student in the graduate program. It is my deep honor to give the continuing student remarks to this year's graduating cohort of Drs. Minga Du, Guillermo Flores, Jamie Gritt, and Nicole Vanderschaaf. I have been extremely fortunate to know all of these graduates on a personal level throughout our journey through graduate school. Minga and Guillermo are part of my own cohort, so we went through this PhD adventure together. We survived first-year classes, second-year comprehensive exams, and all other hurdles graduate school can throw at you. Not only was Minga the first in my cohort to publish, but she published as a first author in Nature, something many of us only dream of accomplishing one day. And she did this while being a mom to her boisterous and loving little boys. And while Minga was more of the timid one in my cohort, Guillermo was quite the opposite. His out-of-the-box thinking helped all of us survive first-year classes. from spider silk as a method to curing osteoporosis, to Parkinson's dogs as a model organism to study Parkinson's disease, he never failed to be original, creative, and inquisitive. These qualities will suit him well in whatever field of medicine he chooses to pursue. As older students in the program, Jamie and Nicole served as strong female mentors for myself and many of my colleagues. I had the pleasure of rotating in a lab with Nicole during my first year, where she was the first one to introduce me to mouse work, for better or for worse. I was extremely nervous about necropsies, but Nicole was a patient, encouraging, and knowledgeable mentor. Her mentorship extended beyond the bench many times, as she was the first Van Andel student to be awarded a fellowship grant from the National Institutes of Health, and she graciously offered to help me when I was going through the grant process myself. I am forever grateful for all of the advice she's given me over her time as a Van Andel student. And now, as an assistant professor in biology, any student would be lucky to be in her classroom and have the opportunity to learn from her. Finally, I was very fortunate to be in the Cancer Center with Jamie and part of the next door lab to the Steens Mob. Jamie embodies the sense of warmth, light, and kindness that is not often found in graduate students trudging through the middle of their degree. And Jamie has dedicated her PhD studies to NF1-related cancers affecting children. And because of this amazing work, she earned a prestigious foundation grant. As a fellow childhood cancer biologist, I commend and share in her commitment and passion for this urgent and so very important research. Lastly, and arguably most important, not only did Jamie excel in science, she also raised a beautiful and strong-willed little girl. Malin is lucky to have a lifetime of learning from Dr. Mom. And while I have shared anecdotes that show how each of these graduates are remarkable and unique in their own ways, what bonds this group together is a sense of quiet and constant leadership. Leadership does not always need to be loud or the center of attention, but instead leadership can be found in the person who is first to volunteer to help or mentor another, the person who adapts and brings people together, or the person who dares to be different than a cookie-cutter graduate student. We are extremely fortunate that the Van Andel Institute Graduate School fosters this kind of leadership due to our small community of students and staff. And importantly, this group embodies this sense of character, work ethic, and kindness that has made them wonderful friends, exemplary leaders in the graduate school, and fantastic colleagues in the larger research institute as a whole. I think in academia, when we are surrounded by doctorate degrees, it is easy to forget that earning a PhD is a truly special event. I hope each of you graduating today recognizes this honor and feat. You deserve to celebrate this momentous occasion and be so proud of all that you have accomplished over the last few years. But with a doctorate and this amazing privilege also comes great responsibility. You are now responsible for sharing your love of science, your obsession with knowledge, and your desire for the truth with the greater public. I am confident that each of you will use this responsibility wisely and inspire the next generations of scientists. Finally, while you may be transitioning to different careers or different locations, you will always be part of the Van Andel Institute Graduate School family. I think I speak for every continuing student when I say I look forward to watching you blossom in the years to come and cannot wait to see what you do next. Congratulations again, doctors. You did it.
The degrees earned and now received by our new graduates represent their entry into professional status within the scientific community. To welcome them to that status, we have a custom of inviting the faculty of the graduate school to come onto the stage to congratulate our graduates and to get photographs commemorating this event. Adherence to good practices of physical distancing won't allow us to fulfill that custom in our usual way. Instead, rising to the occasion in true 2020 Zoom fashion, our faculty have recorded their applause and congratulations. Before closing today's ceremony, I will thank a few people who were essential in putting this event together. Suzanne Miller-Schockinger from the graduate school staff coordinated today's ceremony. The program materials for today's ceremony were coordinated by Caitlin Schuler from the Institute's Communications and Marketing staff. A special note of appreciation to Terry Ballard and Bill Baylod, the audiovisual specialists for Van Andel Institute, who collected all of the pre-recorded bits of this event and masterfully engineered those into the presentation that you've witnessed today. I also thank Jonathan Carnes and his colleagues in the group called Copper and Keys for their lively musical accompaniment to today's celebration, which we borrowed from their live performances at prior graduate school ceremonies. And with that, our commencement ceremony for the year 2020 comes to a close. I thank you all for joining us for today's celebration.